Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Sonia Blake, and I'm President and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance. And welcome to our Los Angeles Wildfire Disaster Relief webinar for nonprofit organizations. We are deeply, deeply concerned about our neighbors in LA and in many of our cities that have experienced these devastating fires over the past week, exacerbated by incredibly strong winds that are causing the fires to just spread very rapidly to the devastation of our city. So many folks have been impacted. Who among us doesn't know someone who has been displaced by evacuation or has sadly lost their home or a loved one or a pet entirely? So we're moving into action to bring relief and support as much as we can and as quickly as we can. We're working closely with the mayor's office, the governor's office, the federal government to bring relief where relief is needed. And we know that our nonprofit sector plays a huge part in this relief effort. So we need to build the capacity of our nonprofits to be able to meet the need. And that's what we're here to talk about and to hear about from our nonprofits today. So I would like to introduce to you, first of all, our board chair, Armida Colmenares Stafford, to make some welcoming remarks. Armida?
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Welcome, everyone. Happy that you're able to join us. As you guys, all know, our region is facing a crisis. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone that's been affected. And we are so deeply grateful to the first responders who have been working tirelessly to assist us with those needs. We, at this time, as part of the Alliance, I want to thank Sonia and her team and the panelists here. Partnering is crucial at this point. Joining resources, it's important. And our goal is to be here and help you through this very tragedy time that we're going through. LA County really hasn't seen fires like this or devastation like we are seeing at this time. But we as human beings too, we are seeing the best of people, that we are really helping. People are helping neighbors. They're taking care of each other. So we are really seeing what a wonderful heart we have as humanity and as human beings. We at the Alliance, with our partners, such as the ones we have with us now, are also trying to reach out to you and be of help, be of assistance, and letting you know that you're not alone. We are here with you. We will stand by you, and we will be part of you till you get back on your feet. So with that, I want to say thank you again to Sonia and the team and the panelists, and I'll turn it back to you, Sonia.
Thank you, Armida, for your leadership, your support, your vision, and all that you do to help all of our businesses, including nonprofits, to thrive in the Valley. I also want to recognize Sharon Harris, our Director of Operations with the Valley Economic Alliance. Many of you will interact with Sharon. And Sharon, is there anything that you wanted to say hello to the group?
I just want to say hello and thank you for being here. This has just been very traumatic for all of us. And it's just really important that we all band together. And I'm just really excited to see this come together and that we're all hands on deck. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon, for everything you do to keep us organized and moving forward. And I want to encourage everyone who is representing a nonprofit on this webinar today to introduce yourself in the chat, please. One of the first steps that we need to take is just to know what our resources are, who are our colleagues, who's available, who's doing what work in our community. And I think that will be a great first step for everyone to introduce yourselves. We want this to be a listening session of sorts. And we're going to be doing some talking and we want to hear from our nonprofits, because what we want to do is sort of a needs assessment. We want to hear what are the needs of our nonprofits. Now, there are great needs that our nonprofits have throughout the year, right? When skies are blue and things are sunny. But especially, most especially during this time, we want to be very swift to let our funding community and our government agencies know what our nonprofits need to have the capacity to come alongside government and private sector to meet the needs of our residents right now more than ever. So we need to hear from you. We need to know who you are, and let us know. And then also, we're going to be doing some different polls, in the chat, to find out like what are the needs. So while you're doing that, I'll introduce myself a little bit more in depth, and then we'll have Marianne and Alejandra introduce themselves more in depth as well. So again, my name is Sonia, and I've been running the Alliance since 2020. Remember what happened in 2020? Okay, yeah, we have some experience in this crisis management thing because the Alliance was founded in '95, right after the Northridge earthquake. We weathered through the pandemic and helped many businesses apply for and receive grants, and small businesses to get access to information and resources. And so here we are again today. The good news is that we do have the relationships, the network with our government agencies, with various funding communities to be able to deploy resources and information fairly quickly. And that's what we intend to do. So I've been a nonprofit CEO and fundraiser for 30 years at different institutions, from the USC School of Fine Arts to LA County Museum of Art, Santa Monica College, and now with the Alliance. And so I think one of the things that's really important for us as nonprofit leaders is to marshal our history and our background and bring that to bear on to help everyone, all boats rise, to help all of our nonprofits to thrive. So I'm here to do that, and super thrilled to have two other partners in this work here that I want to make sure that you meet. First of all, I want you to meet Marianne Haber-Hill, who is a chair of the Alliance's Livable and Sustainable Communities Committee. This committee works on topics such as adequate housing for our region, parks and environmental sustainability, access to healthcare and healthy foods, public safety and sanitation, all these different topics that help create communities where we want to live and where companies will want to start businesses and stay. Marianne is also the executive director of the Community Foundations of the Valleys and is the inspiration for today's webinar. So Marianne, if you would flesh out your introduction so we can get to know you better.
All right, thank you so much, Sonia. Just to give a little context, I live in Altadena. So we had to evacuate twice last week. And now we're staying with friends in Pasadena, but now the entire Altadena community is blocked off. We can't get back to our house. We have seen some video and other resources that indicate our house is still there, but it's in a little strip of maybe 4 or 5 houses, and everything else is gone, just gone. So it's like kind of like a war zone. People have said that, but it's really pretty devastating. We feel fortunate, although more winds are expected. So we're holding that lightly at the moment. But certainly I can identify with some of the stress and the fears and feelings of discomfort that many of you might be experiencing during this time. Also, many years ago, I was the executive director of a social service agency that was kind of in the heart of the Northridge earthquake aftermath. And having gone through that crisis, just really kind of understand what it's like. And was talking with somebody yesterday about this, and there isn't a real playbook for how you respond to these kinds of disasters. It's kind of a day by day, making decisions on the fly and going with it. And sometimes you'll make the right decision, and sometimes it may not be, but you just have to keep going and doing the best you can. And certainly all of those in the call are committed to our nonprofits. You want to help not only your organization, but certainly the people that you serve, and as well as your colleagues and friends. So my heart is with you, and hopefully you'll find some resources and some ideas here today that will be helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marianne. And Alejandro Acuna, Dr. Acuna is director of the Valley Nonprofit Resource Center at CSUN, has been a longtime partner of the Alliance and delivering valuable information to our nonprofit community, and really excited to have you with us, Alex.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you to everyone. I echo my colleagues' gratitude for your presence here today. So I am the Executive Director of Valley Nonprofit Resources, which has been around a lot longer than I've been there. My predecessor, Tom Backer, was the founder, Dr. Tom Backer. And really the mission of Valley Nonprofit Resources is building stronger nonprofits in the San Fernando Valley. And so thank you to Mary Ann and to Sonia for inviting me to be part of this panel. And really today, echoing Sonia's comments, is we're here to listen, to strategize, to advocate, and to just create a space where we can all share our insights, concerns, and creative, actionable solutions to chart the way forward. And I just want to say I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I spent most of my career as a school social worker. And so I'm really grateful for LAUSD policies and protocols that helped prepare us for various crises. And so, but really my message for you today is, as a human being, as a mother, I live in a neighborhood, Mount Washington, that is in and out of the red flag zone as I'm tracking on my Watch Now app. I just want to validate that there is a range of human emotions and experiences being felt. You may feel shock, numb, angry, sad, bargaining, and not distinctly, maybe all at once, like a whirlpool of all those feelings. And I just want to say, it's normal, it's human, it's natural, it's understandable. There is nothing wrong with us for feeling this way. It's a normal reaction to abnormal conditions, to really extraordinary, out of the ordinary conditions. So I just want to validate that. And I just want to offer that if the nonprofit community leaders are interested, I'm open to having regular Zooms as short as 10 to 15 minutes to lead us in check-ins and in relaxation exercises. And the reason I think this is so important, because some people are like, well, what's that going to do? I feel like we're going to need our most clear and creative thinking as we move forward. And so when we're stressed, we're not our best thinkers. And when we're calm, when our body is calm, then our mind really opens up. And so I'd like to offer that as a start. And again, thank you for the invitation. And I'm taking lots of notes because I've already had people reach out and ask me, what are the needs? What can we do? Thank you.
Maybe speaking of notes, maybe I could just ask Sharon or somebody on your team taking notes, because I literally don't have a notepad to write on.
Yes, we've got
Somebody's house, somebody else's house, and I don't know where they keep everything and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, but I also just want to reiterate what Alex said. So important to recognize that each of us responds and heals at a different rate. And for some people they'll get over this fast. But for those of you who are like that, please be patient for others for whom it takes time. It just takes time to process and their feelings and move on. So we just need to give each other a lot of grace during this recovery process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So sorry, Marianne, what you're going through. And thank you for being with us. And we're recording the session, and we'll be able to share out the replay, and we'll take notes in the chat. And so we'll have our action items captured. So thank you for that. So I want to do this in a couple different ways. First of all, Alex, you brought up the idea of periodic meetings, and I think that's a fantastic idea. And so I want folks to just let us know in the chat, are you interested in that? Just sort of say yes, in the chat if you want to be a part of, regular meetings of nonprofits. And I love the idea of helping to really support one another and kind of having those de-stressifying influences, and also funding. What are the funding opportunities? Where can we apply? And maybe we would have funders come to those meetings periodically so we can meet them and see what their guidelines are and get to know them and build relationships with them. So love that idea if we'd like to do that. So I think the way we might want to approach this listening session is let's talk about the nonprofit community in different segments. So we've got segments that are dealing with different aspects of the crisis. So we will have the first segment, let's just sort of focus on relief efforts. So food, clothing, shelter.
Yeah.
If your nonprofit works in that area, we want to hear from you. If you would raise your virtual hand, then we'll go ahead and we'll allow you to speak up and just share what are some of the needs that you're seeing among your constituencies as an organization to build your capacity. Do you have enough supplies? Do you have an overage of supplies? I know there are some organizations that have a lot of name recognition, for example, and that's the first place people think to drop off supplies. And some of them are just overrun with materials, and it's actually become burdensome to be able to manage, and things are getting in the way when they're trying to deliver services, whereas there are other organizations that really have a need. So are there folks with us today who can speak to that need? What are you finding? If we've got Mend with us, if we've got Red Cross with us, any of those. Anne Marie, welcome, welcome. Let's hear from you, Anne Marie.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm from Mend, Meet Each Need with Dignity. We provide food and meet immediate needs of people experiencing homelessness, and we have longer term programs related to health, employment, and getting connected to resources. We see the food need every day. It gets exacerbated, obviously, by disasters. But in that kind of disaster is included power outages. So we notice and we prepare for more people coming for food when there have been power outages because the food they already have is ruined. So that's something to keep in mind. We've also been having internal discussions because we are right now expanding our cold storage area and warehouse area for food, preparing space. We've built the cold storage and we're arranging the warehouse area, shelving for non-perishables or longer term goods. And we're making plans to be collecting goods, not just for the day-to-day, week-to-week distributions that we always do, but to have a stockpile for the longer term so that when there's an emergency, we already have some goods that are set aside waiting for that, with, turning them over through our regular distributions. So we're trying to make plans for the longer term, as uncertain as that is. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Very helpful, very helpful. Thanks for being the first to speak up and for bringing to the group the awareness of these needs. Very helpful. Is there a particular, maybe it might be helpful to add some metrics to this. So are we talking about a certain fundraising goal that maybe you have in mind, or you're starting to think about to be able to meet this greater need for food during power outages, more provisions to stockpile for emergencies, and possibly to expand your cold storage capacity and shelving for non-perishables? Is there a particular amount that has been thought about, or is that still just sort of being formulated?
Still working on it. We did expand our cold storage and warehouse space already. It's not fully operational, but we already have the funds in hand for that piece for right now. But for the stockpiling, that's a whole other question because it would require purchasing food rather than relying on just the donations that we usually get the bulk of our food from.
Right. Okay,
It
very
would be
good.
more intentional.
More intentional. Okay, beautiful. We have a comment from Estefania in the chat. There's a need for support securing a warehouse to open a resource center for donations and programs for the community. So that's an interesting idea. Is there such a warehouse already available? Do we have that already at our disposal, or do we need one? As Estefania is suggesting, does anyone have ideas about that? She's asking if the city has properties available for this. They are a 501c3. I know that the city, for most of the city-owned properties, a lot of the real estate that they've looked at, they have been focusing on prioritizing housing, building housing on all city-owned facilities, and other uses have, been deprioritized, I guess you could say. So I don't know if city resources or buildings available, but we do have city partners that we can reach out to with this need. So we'll compile this list of the needs that we identify today, and we'll start talking to the various government partners and funding partners that might be able to meet those needs. So that's something we'll look at. But does anyone have a comment about Estefania's point about a warehouse? Does anyone know about a warehouse that we already have that can be used for the community, or any more feedback on that?
Just a thought that there's a lot of retail that has closed in recent years, and I'm just wondering if a large store that's empty, I don't know, but I'm wondering to what part of the valley is it that they're looking or needing space, just because that also makes a difference and makes it more convenient if it's something relatively close by.
Right. Okay, Estefania, we'll take you off mute so that you can share. Please feel free.
Hi, everyone. My name is Estefania Rebellan. My organization is called Yes We Can World Foundation. We are currently looking for a space that's at least 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. We could take a store. Honestly, at this point, any open floor space would be great. We have a lot of people that are ready to support with really large quantities of donations. And also we have a lot of programming that is ready to go. We will be focusing on low-income families that have been affected, and also Latino families that have barriers with language and also might be undocumented. So there's a lot of trust-based programming that is ready to go. So yeah, if you have any leads, please reach out to me. I'll drop my email in the chat. Any real estate agents, any facilities, churches, city parks, schools, we
Yeah.
are ready to go.
Fantastic. Yes, we do work with real estate brokers that help businesses find locations in the valley. Did you say 3,000 to 5,000 square feet?
Yes, 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, and ideally Altadena, Pasadena, or Burbank. But we are also open if there's a space available to go where we can get a space.
Okay, great. Yes, do share more information about what you're looking for, and we can connect you with brokers that might be able to help you find some possibilities.
So,
Thank you.
and to that point, 99-cent stores, they all closed, and they're pretty big. So I'm wondering if that's a space that's open.
Good
that-
point.
Yeah, absolutely. Good idea.
99-cent stores and Big Lots also.
And Big Lots.
You're
Ooh,
right.
great.
And yeah, if Economic Alliance Resources can help you find the right broker or executive, whoever it is you need to talk to, because sometimes that's a bit challenging, finding the right person to talk to about that space. So yeah, there's some little research, but again, maybe a real estate broker or somebody else would be able to find such a person to help in that way.
You also had mentioned the church and schools. They have a lot of the parking lot itself. And I know as you get through the cities, that's what you're seeing. You see UCLA, in the school itself, that's doing it. And some of the local churches itself too.
Very true. Okay, fantastic. So I think we're going to move to another segment of the nonprofit sector. How about we talk about economic development? So we have some folks who are chambers here, Filipino Chamber. Shout out to Filipino Chamber. Hi, Annie, United Chambers of Commerce, other economic development, BizFed. Hi, Tasia, welcome, welcome. Let's have some economic development folks come off mute and tell us some of your thoughts about needs for in your sector. Of course, the Alliance does a fair amount of economic development. We have a free business assistance program that, there's a greater need for doing a lot more. So funding for additional business consultants to help companies navigate through the paperwork of applying for loans and grants is an area of need that increases for us during these times. Any other economic development nonprofits want to weigh in about some of the special needs that you might have at this time?
Hi, Sonia, it's Ramita. As you saw, I went ahead and passed chair of United Chambers. I don't know if Mike's on the call with us right now, but I know hearing from the chambers already a bit as they're helping their members. Obviously, we discussed already the immediate need of housing and all that, and some have been fortunate they have a family or a friend that they can move to, like Marion. They're still dealing with the trauma of leaving their home, and it's still very traumatic. And as we said, not even knowing if it's going to be there the next couple of days, just praying that everything goes well. But one of the things too is assistance with insurance. I think that's a big thing, working with their insurance group. How do they go ahead and get that done right away so they can start the process, those that are fortunate to have insurance. And then, as we discussed on our earlier webinar, the resource to SBA, to funding. And I think it might be important to add some of that SBA information on this chat as well, so they know. I know as a banker, that's the one thing we did right away, started getting some of that information out to clients. As far as grants, you heard it earlier, we don't know what's going to be full grants that are forgiving, just like we did when we had COVID with the PPP loan. But for sure, some of the access to getting some of those loans at such low interest rate, it is going to be very important, not only just for now, but a few more years to come for the survival of these businesses moving forward.
Thank you for that, Armida. I did just put in the chat SBA.gov. That's where there are 3 different types of low interest emergency loans that the SBA has just announced. And so you'll be able to check those out, and nonprofits are indeed eligible for those. So that's loans. But as far as grants, we haven't been hearing grants coming out yet. There is another loan from the Jewish Free Loan Program. And I'll just put that here too, so that people can Google that. Jewish Free Loan Program also has a very low interest loan. So I see that Tasia from BizFed mentions hosting a weekly fire task force, I think, meeting. Meetings, hold on, my chat is jumping as people add to the chat. So you can bring your information to have an audience of state legislators and local legislators also. So definitely check out what BizFed's working on there. We've got Eric Garcia, who is an insurance agent broker and has some expertise in that area. Thank you so much, Eric. I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad Armida brought that up with insurance. That's going to be a very, very important element to recovery. Let's talk about mental health. If we have mental health providers from the mental health sector, the need, of course, in your segment has just skyrocketed, right? And so there's a great need. We know there's a lot of people depending on our mental health providers. And now it's our turn to hear from you. What is it that are some of the special needs that have come up owing to the fires? And what needs do you have from the funding community, or from volunteers, or from the government agencies, or whatever, what have you? So we have Dee Dee Hirsch, Mental Health Services here. I see we've got Eder. Please, Eder, feel free to weigh in on this topic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eder Avellaneda. I work for Northeast Valley Health Corporation. And, as a result of COVID, we saw a growing demand for group therapy sessions to, help patients cope with feelings and emotions related to grief and loss. And we can only imagine that this is something that's going to be needed due to these emergencies. So in terms of the things that I foresee as needing is funding for behavioral health providers who can facilitate these grief group sessions, and these sessions preferably should be done in person. And yeah, so funding for social work assistants, also substance use disorder counseling sessions would be helpful. And if there's no available funding, something else that would help us would be just even referrals for behavioral health staff. Sometimes it's difficult for us to find quality job candidates for these positions. We've been looking for a couple of months for specifically a substance use disorder counselor, and that's been difficult. So if you guys have any referrals for potential candidates, definitely send them our way, because we can definitely where there's going to be a need for that. And just while I have the mic, just moving a little bit away from mental health, something else that we're going to also be needing is emergency preparedness training. So anything that you guys have to offer for that would be really helpful for us. Yeah, so thank you so much for passing the mic, and back to you.
Thank you, Eder. Oh, very, very helpful. Appreciate that very much.
Can I just pick up on one thing that he said that I think is important? He mentioned the idea of in-person meetings. And I would just really encourage you, Zoom is really convenient, but with your team or with your clients, as much as you can meet in person, I would encourage that, because just an example, at my church, we had a Zoom church meeting because so many of our members are scattered. We live in the area where that's really impacted. So we had this Zoom thing. Later in the day, they had a in-person gathering, and it was so important to be able to hug people and look them in the eye and empathize with what they're going through. So just passing that along wherever it's useful in your context, with your staff, with your clients, as much as you can, try to meet in person and limit Zoom to sort of well, like this is very helpful, but just like business meetings where it's just that kind of a focus. Anyway, I'll pass it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really helpful. Anyone else from mental health? I know I saw Dee Dee Hirsch is represented here. What else? I'm looking to see in the participant list. Okay, if not, we're going to move on to environment. Let's see. Okay, and check out the chat, because there are some people who are responding to some of the questions that are coming up, and some really good resources being proposed there. Let's talk about the environment. There are respiratory concerns, the smoke inhalation, the smoke in the area, the air quality, poorer air quality. Now, are we in need of some kinds of remediation of the air? Is there regulation that's needed? Is there regulation that needs to be lifted so that we can have, expedite what needs to happen? Do we need more care for people related to respiratory challenges? Do we need more prevention and awareness and education so people know to wear masks? And where do they wear masks? Can they tell that the air is not safe to breathe? Or, are there certain indicators where people will know that the air quality is poor? Some of these questions are really important, and we'd love to hear from anyone from the environmental related sector on that.
Sonia, in addition to the mask, I was hearing the report with, some of the leaders this morning, including our mayor, Karen Bass. Not only the mask, but also the water. They should be very cautious with the water itself, because there's some areas and Marion being on that area too, they're particularly saying they kind of narrow down the map, and I think it's important to do two things. One is we're keeping an eye on the map on the fires, also keep an eye on the maps that they're drafting for air quality and the water, because they are saying, please do not drink that water. As a lot of the resource centers and a lot of the groups out there, that's what they're making sure. They're trying to bring in the mask as well as trying to bring in water itself. So they don't want you getting sick from the water, because it's being contaminated. Just like our area, so is our water filters. So keep that in mind.
Thank you for bringing that up. Very important. Okay, I don't see anyone from the environmental sector or segment piping in to address any needs, but that was so good, Armida. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm trying to think, are there any other segments of nonprofit that were not mentioned so far? We talked about food, clothing, and shelter, economic development, mental health, environment. I want to open it up to any and every other segment. Tatiana, please, love to hear from you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't press the button. Please, Tatiana, now we'll be able to hear you now.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I think one of the biggest things that I haven't heard was seniors right now. A lot of them have lost their medications, their durable medical equipment, diapers, a lot of much needed services. So that's something that we're trying to figure out with Kaiser and Unitas to see how we can provide more direct services, since we cover 6 counties. So we're trying to gather as many resources, but again, we would need funding for a lot of more of the durable medical equipment and incontinence supplies for seniors. So I know that's a really big need. I know I visited a couple of donation centers and shelters over the weekend, and it's very devastating to see a lot of families and seniors having no idea what to do, because they've lost so much of their items and very much needed. So that's something that we're trying to figure out as well.
Thank you for that. Okay, very, very helpful to know. We'll put that out there as a need and see what we can find out and figure out.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go through the chat now. Or Alex, anything you want to add to the mix?
I was just going to suggest that we read Marcos Rubalcaba's chat and see if you can weigh in.
Yes, I was looking at that. It's heartbreaking. So Marcos, so sorry to hear this. So Marcos has one of their camps located in the Palisades burned down completely to the ground. And the last time they applied for funding with FEMA to fix structures and damages to the road from the emergency flash flooding and high winds, they were denied because they were not seen as providing an essential social service. So like many nonprofits, they're underinsured for a disaster of this magnitude, and he's not quite sure where to start. Open to any resources that may offer guidance. So sorry that this has happened, and appreciate your being here so we can come alongside. And we did have a representative from the US SBA just on and talking about some of the programs from that side. So FEMA has issued some links with their application, as well as an 800 number if for whatever reason, sometimes I guess in the application, if the application is filled out in a certain way and certain data points
Correct.
filled out exactly right, then it can kind of kick the application out as ineligible. So if that does happen, it's best to then follow up with a phone call to just cover the bases and make sure that the system received the information, or you answered the questions just so, or you didn't miss an answer or something like that. So sometimes applications are disqualified for those kind of technical glitches or errors. So we want to make sure to get a person on the phone and see if we can kind of, cover that end of things. So
And thank you for bringing that up, Sonia. I think that it was mentioned earlier today on the on the meeting they had earlier, that was an issue that some people have brought up, quite a few, that they had applied at FEMA and they were declined. They said, do not get discouraged, because to your point, it's just something that they might have missed a checkbox somewhere here or there that caused the application to be declined. There are FEMA members that are supposed to be out in some of the local libraries. So they did bring that up. So check with your local libraries if you have a FEMA representative. So they are actually in there in person. You can also, if you don't have internet, computer problems, whatever it may be, you may want, you are able to go in person and speak to a FEMA representative that can help you, guide you, hold your hand as you go ahead and do your application, to give you a better success ratio. I know as a banker, when we were doing the PPP loans, a few people were declined, but I know when they were coming to us, we held the hand, we knew exactly what was needed, and we were able to go ahead and get our clients the PPP funds. So it's the same concept with FEMA right now. So please make sure, don't give up automatically. Follow up with them.
Mhm. Thank you so much for that, Marcos. Is there any other feedback with regard to that? Let's see, I'm gonna put the 800 number. Here is the FEMA website that we're instructed to start with. Let's see, and then there's the phone number. There are a couple of websites, so let me put these in the chat as a start. Now, what we're also going to be doing is, as we continue to get your questions and comments, we will have our contacts with these different government agencies field those, and then we'll be adding the information to our disaster relief website, which I'm going to pop in the chat now. It's at economicalliance.org/disaster-relief. So that's where we're going to be putting all the updates whenever we hear about new grants coming out, when we get more information on how to navigate FEMA, anything like that is going to go there. So there we go. Is anybody hearing about grants yet? Any of the funders that we have joining us, if you wanted to share some of the emergency support that you're trying to push out, would you go ahead and raise your virtual hand so that we can call on you and hear about those? And then Alex and Marianne, are you hearing about any grants so far?
I have not heard directly. There was one foundation that made some inquiry about us, but I wanted to share, because I do represent the Community Foundation of the Valleys. Unlike some large foundations in Los Angeles, our community foundation is strictly donor advised funds. We don't have a general fund that we can give from. However, part of my goal in the meeting here today is to be able to go back to our board and say, here's what some of the needs are. Can we convince some of our donors, and I shouldn't say convince, ask some of our fund holders if they would give grants. Typically, they're small grants, and typically, from our experience, most of our fund holders prefer working with smaller nonprofits. We haven't exactly defined that. Part of my challenge at the moment is both our board chair and our vice chair are out of the country and have been for more than a week. So we've been having a little bit of a hard time communicating with one another, but I'm gathering information with the hope that we can get our heads together soon. But it may be, because of the nature of who we are, a few weeks before we can get any grants out. But likely smaller organizations and smaller grants is what I suspect. So far, having worked with the donors that have funds with us, we manage their funds together with California Community Foundation. That's generally what I imagine will be the case in a few weeks. So you can feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to get your name on the list. That's fine. But I realize I'm not being very specific, but again, it's because our board has been a little bit hard to gather given the circumstances. So
Right, understandable. Rose has her hand up. Rose, if you would share, and then we'll go ahead and hear from Alex if you have anything you would like to share. Rose, please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Excellent, thank you. And I am sharing much care and support for you you, Marianne. It is good to see you here on this call, and please count on us here at the California Community Foundation to work in tandem with the Community Foundation of the Valleys. I am Rose Venegas. I am the Director of Health Programs with the California Community Foundation, and we partner with the Community Foundation of the Valleys. We are also aligning and coordinating with Pasadena Community Foundation to look at coordinating efforts for the emergency response. And California Community Foundation will be focused very quickly on the mid to long-term recovery efforts, including supporting work that our city, county governments will need to pursue so that we can ensure that federal resources are quickly placed here in LA County. So I will include the LA wildfires email into the group chat, and that is the inbox where we have multiple staff monitoring that, so that folks can reach out to share the information that I know will be gathered by the Valley Economic Alliance. So thank you very much to the leaders here, and I appreciate the chance to speak on audio.
Thank you so much, Rose, for being with us and rising to the occasion to meet the need. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we'll look for that info in the chat and we'll include it with our packet. Are there any other funders who have information about grants that are either accepting applications now or in the works? So we're very interested in getting prepared, making sure our nonprofits are prepared with all their paperwork and they know what they can start to think about. Okay, while we're waiting for that to come in, Alex, do you have anything to share about any grants or resources you've been hearing about at Valley Nonprofit Resources?
Absolutely. So Kiana Montezeri, Associate Program Officer from the Community Benefit Giving Office at Cedars-Sinai, reached out to me via text and said, if we learn of support needs or pooled funds, please feel free to forward them my way. And so if anybody has any specific needs, I'm happy to make e-introductions to Kiana. And I wanted to say that I'm taking lots of notes, and Valley Nonprofit Resources has a mailing list, and I tend to send things out the first of every month, but sometimes if we have a lot of information, I send it out mid-month as well. And so I feel like tomorrow I'm going to be sending out an e-blast with all of these wonderful links and information and try to make connections. I really love this model about how people are bringing up questions, and just with our own crowdsourcing, just with our own, putting our heads together, we're finding answers for each other. So thank you.
Thank you. So in the time we have left, let's go through our chat and see what information has come up. But also, actually, does everyone know about like grants databases like grants.gov, where you can find federal grants, and grants.ca.gov for California grants, Grant Station, right? I don't know if it's .com or .org.
There's also Candid, C-A-N-D-I-D. That's kind of a repository of all nonprofits in the United States, and you can look up by, and foundations.
Is there one called Open Grants or something like that? Database, opengrants.io, I think, the foundation directory. Yeah, so let's just start with the basics there, make sure folks know where to find some of those resources. So an insurance provider, Eric Garcia, has put information in the chat. There's also a real estate agent, so there's that, and then the Alliance works with different brokers that we can send your way also. There's some great resources about this free therapist pro bono spreadsheet. We will be, because it's been requested in the chat, we will send out a Google sheet or something like that with our name, organization name, and email address. So this is not for spamming, not for adding to any email lists. And if anybody wants to opt out, let us know. Let's see, what's today? Today's Tuesday. So let us know by, let's say, tomorrow close of business, and we'll try to get that out by the end of this week. But you'd have to opt out for your information to not be included. Okay, the Foothill Employment and Training Connection used to field a mobile unit. And that would be a mobile unit for to deploy private counseling sessions in many rooms inside the vehicle. That's an interesting model. And if anybody's interested, Dr. Pichardo is the one who pops that into the chat and can put a connection together there. Marcos, we want you to stay close to us and stay in touch with us so that we can continue to help you to access resources through FEMA and elsewhere. Okay, so stay in close touch with us. We want to be a part of helping you get back on your feet. The Strength United and School Psychology Program are offering counseling services to students and communities. That's a great model. And the seniors, we talked about the seniors and how there really is quite a need there for those supplies. So hopefully Cedars, Alex, can help to meet that need for senior supplies, medical equipment, and incontinence supplies. Okay, so Didi Hirsch, okay, is anticipating a need for trauma-informed counseling sessions once this phase, the disillusionment phase, the healing process begins. So they're preparing a list of therapists. Thank you so much for letting us know that. Also looking for support, short-term support at the various resource centers being established. So wasn't there funding? There was a bond measure that was passed. Wasn't there a bond measure, a healthcare bond measure passed to provide a lot of like to provide buildings and infrastructure, healthcare facilities, but also workforce development and healthcare workers. So don't know if anybody knows about that, but we can look into what's happening with that healthcare bond. Is anyone aware of the latest on that? Okay, so we can ask our friends at BizFed or VICA or one of the legislative advocacy groups if that money can start getting deployed right away, and we can advocate for the governor to shake loose that if that measure was indeed passed. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like there's availability of a dentist in Burbank who'll be providing dental emergency care at no cost. So look in the chat for that, Dr. Pichardo. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. Okay, so Estefania has a funding proposal ready to go. And so Alejandra, she's hoping you'll be able to take a look at that. So there's a Vita Mobile Clinic in Granada Hills, sees patients without health insurance, and they can go to healthcare fairs, etc. Maybe we'd want to have them on campus at CSUN, Alex, or some of the community colleges potentially. I saw Glendale Community College on here. Maybe you want to connect with Vita Mobile Clinic for some provision of healthcare for students on campus. And then lastly, I'll go down to see. Okay, so we're 3 minutes before the end of our call, and maybe it's time for some nice, some closing comments. I don't see any hands raised. I think we went through the chat as best we could. Definitely, oh, here's something. Black Women Rally for Action in Los Angeles County is a newer nonprofit. It started in 2020. Amazing time to get involved, get started. They've been putting out PPE masks and hand sanitizers, so that's great. And with the fire, there's a need for N95 masks. So if anybody has a hookup, maybe Alex Cedars-Sinai can work with this group to get some N95 masks into the community. That'll be great. And Sharon brings up about transportation resources for people who lost their vehicles. Does anyone know about transportation services? We should also check with our friends at Metro to see what's happening. They probably have free rides going, something like that. Don't quote me. I'll have to look. They did that before and might again. Definitely really appreciate everybody hopping on and everyone who spoke up and everyone who popped information into the chat. I want to give a chance for some closing comments. Maybe we start with Alex and then Marianne and then Armida. Alex, anything else to share in parting?
I just want to reiterate that all our reactions, shock, numb, sadness, anger, bargaining, acceptance, they are all normal and natural, and that it will come as waves. And we're not out of control. There's nothing wrong with this. These are just natural reactions to really extraordinary, devastating conditions. And I want to say that I'll be sending out an e-blast with a lot of the information provided, a lot of the requests, and I will commit to hosting a 30-minute check-in weekly. If you want to just come in and I grew up in a Pentecostal church in East LA, and every service we had peticiones y testimonios, so petitions and testimonies. And so if you just want to check in and say, I need X, Y, or Z, or if you want to check in and say, I'm grateful for getting A, B, and C, we can do that. And then I can lead us into a evidence-based stress management relaxation exercise, just so that we are clear-headed and our most creative selves as we navigate everything that comes. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being such a beautiful and juicy community for the Valley.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that so much. And Marianne, we have just 1 minute left.
Yeah. So I want to thank all of you for the good work that you do. I'm just so proud to represent the nonprofit sector because you do awesome work. A couple of quick tips. Be sure to eat well. Just get nutrition. I think the tendency when we get really busy is to skip meals or to eat junk. And right now you need to eat good food. So just be sure to do that. And be sure to take breaks, take a Sabbath rest or a weekend day where you're just not doing work. Everything will survive if you skip a day. It's okay. So just take good care of yourself so that you in turn can take care of the people who need you most right now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Armida, any last parting
Well,
words?
thank you everyone again for joining us. And again, our hearts go out to everyone that's been affected. We're sorry to read even some of the stories that we saw in the chat here. But know, as you heard it, take care of yourself mentally and physically. You're going to need your strength as you continue to move forward. We will get through this together, and just know the Alliance is here for you. We are here as a resource for you. We were there, as Sonia pointed out, with the earthquake happened, COVID happened. So this is nothing new to us. We have a great leader with Sonia and the team that really knows how to navigate through this whole process, does an extremely great job putting partners such as the panelists and meetings that we have. And really, we are very committed to our local communities that we serve for your well-being and for you to go ahead and not just survive here, but go through this and come out strong. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. And then just closing out from the Alliance, listen, we are the nonprofit sector. We are the heartbeat of our community. We're caring people who are doing what we can to make this world a better place, and starting right here at home in the San Fernando Valley and the LA County region. So you are not alone in this work. It's tough work, but it's very worthy work. And we are fighting for a noble cause, which is the betterment of life for our communities. So keep up the amazing work. We are here to support, and we'll be seeing you at the next one. So thanks for joining us, and take good care. Be safe.